And we are live from Las Vegas. Command the draft. And, well, Washington, the time has come. Washington is officially on the clock at number 11 overall. Julie Donaldson here coming to you from Caesars Forum, where we are broadcasting live. And as soon as the pick is made, I will be heading back into the area where the draft is taking place. And I will get an interview with our pick. But here is how the first 10 picks shook out ahead of where Washington will be selecting at number 11 overall. Well, you had the Jaguars going number 1 overall, taking Trayvon Walker, starting with defense. The first 5 picks going defense here in this draft. It wasn't until 6 with Carolina where you got an offensive lineman taking out of NC State. And then the Giants, they had 2 picks so far in this draft. Our fellow foes in the NFC East, as they went with an edge rusher out of Oregon, and then also with an offensive lineman out of Alabama. And, well, now we know that Washington at number 11 just made a trade. They moved back. Now, a couple of wide receivers that they had interest in, and Drake London and Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State, they went before Washington. So Washington at number 11 has officially traded back. So we will have to wait a little bit longer to see what Washington will do with that pick that they did trade back with. Let's go out to FedEx Field and send it to the newest member of the broadcast booth, London Fletcher and Bram Weinstein. Guys, what is your reaction to Washington moving back? Obviously, the guy that they wanted wasn't there at 11, or they just decided that they wanted to be able to have other options.
First trade of the night, it's Washington. I think they've kind of hinted this for a while here. They said during the pre-draft press conference, this is a very deep draft. They have a lot of positions that they would like to address. I think the receiver that they like, Drake London's off the board. This feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think it does. I think first of all, they like Drake London, and then Garrett Wilson second. Once those 2 guys were no longer an option, trading back makes a lot of sense. Actually, you had just said it right before they traded, like, I think they trade back. So it makes a lot of sense. If they're going to draft a receiver, they can draft one of those guys later, or maybe even Kyle Hamilton might still be available.
Maybe he's still available, but if you do not get him in the next 5 picks because he felt like a perfect fit in a position of need, do you regret that later?
I don't think so. I think the way they probably went into this draft, first and foremost, they were thinking added playmaker to the wide receiver position, either Drake London or Garrett Wilson. Once both of those guys are gone, maybe they still be able to add, whether it's Chris Olave or even Jameson Williams, possibly at that pick later in the draft.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on Williams here. Obviously, I think he might have been the first receiver off the board if it wasn't for the injury that occurred to him. And I guess it's a risk-reward thing that they have to think about. Do you take somebody who's not going to be available for you for week 1, but with upside that could be superstar?
Well, that's what you have to weigh. You say, hey, if he has to sit out the first 6 weeks or the first 8 weeks, but you know what type of player he is, and you hope that he'll be – we saw what he was prior to getting injured in that national championship game, the most explosive receiver in all of college football last year.
I mean, this feels like the move down is set up for them to take a receiver. It's a very, very deep receiver pool. 6 to 8 of them may go in the first round. Beyond that, now that they've got some assets back and we don't know what they are yet from New Orleans, what do you think they're going to address as the draft matriculates through the week?
Well, I think they get some defensive tackles. They have to replace Matt Nice, Tim Settle. That'll be a position of need. Maybe add a running back, a bigger back, just not a starter, just somebody if Antonio Gibson gets injured or needs to spell, just a bigger back. And then the safety position or cornerback position, I think you address that as well.
Let me talk about the top 10 with you for a moment. Giants seem to have done really well here.
Yes.
Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think they could have asked for it to fall better for them.
I was praying that the Giants did not take Kayvon Thibodeau. I thought he's the best pass rusher in this year's draft. So when he was selected by the Giants at number 5, I was like, dang it, we're going to have to deal with that guy every twice a year. And then they take Evan Neal, another guy, probably the second tackle off the board. The Giants, they have to be really happy with their draft.
All right. We're going to stick around here for a little bit longer as Washington has moved down. We'll find out the details of the trade as we send it back out to Vegas, Julie.
And thank you so much, guys. Okay, so Washington deciding to move back in the draft, trading back with New Orleans. They will be now selecting at 16 overall. They're also getting a third and a fourth round draft pick at number 98 and at 120. Now remember, because of getting Carson Wentz and that way that move went down, they did not have a third round draft pick. So now by moving back, which coming into the draft, Martin Mayhew, general manager, said that, look, we had 6 picks entering into the draft, but he said more than likely by the end of it, that number will change. And we didn't have to wait very long for them to go ahead and try and collect more draft picks. Now, head coach Ron Rivera also said, look, there are a lot of needs on this team. So it is something that they did want to get to have more options. And a couple of wide receivers that they were eyeing earlier were taken before them. So Washington moving back again, selecting 16th in the first round, third round at 98, and the fourth round at 120. Let's go back out to FedEx Field and bring in Logan Paulson and our team reporter Zach Selby with their reaction to Washington moving back.
Well, Logan, we thought the Commanders were going to pick 11, but now they've traded back with the New Orleans Saints, get a first, a third, and a fourth.
Yes.
What do you think of that value?
I mean, I'm ecstatic. This is fantastic news for the team in such a deep draft like this. It puts them in a perfect position to get a receiver that they like.
Yep.
Chris Olave, like we talked about off air, is probably their number 1 receiver at this point in the draft. He'll be there at 16 most likely.
Right.
But if not, you got Trevor Penning, guys like that available there. Increase that offensive line depth. Then it allows you to kind of take advantage of the meat and potatoes of this draft, the 3rd and 4th round.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, because you have Drake London, Garrett Wilson, all those receivers go off the board early.
Yes.
And, I mean, they have a 3rd round pick now. That was something that was made a lot of bones about when they traded for Carson Wentz. They gave out a 3rd round pick. Now, you talk about Chris Olave. What do you think you'd bring to that group if he is the end up being that pick?
I mean, just everyone you talk to in the building about Chris Olave, they have nothing but good things to say about him. They admire his work ethic. They admire his preparation. They admire his route running nuance. And I think in terms of guys that they liked, it was Drake London, Wilson, and then Olave is there, right? Both those guys are gone. Let's move back, get ourselves in a position as an organization to get the best receiver, in our view, that's going to be available at 16.
Smooth. That's what you hear when you talk about Chris Olave. A 4.29 unofficial 40. Then runs a 4.38 at the combine. He's got some really, really good hands. And, he's the number 1 receiver to the receiving touchdown for Ohio State.
Wow.
35 receiving touchdowns.
Fantastic.
That's insane.
Insane number.
Absolutely. So you talk about that 3rd round pick and everything like that. I mean, is there a possible value there they can maybe even trade back even more?
I mean, you could probably trade back more, but now you're in a position to address a lot of the team needs, right? You can address that big nickel in the 2nd round. There's all those safeties available there, those kind of hybrid players. Offensive lineman, there'd be good value there in the 3rd round. Linebacker maybe in the 4th. All of a sudden, this draft is open. This team can address all these issues. I am ecstatic.
Yeah, I am too, absolutely. And, talking more about Olave, I mean, his hands are just so amazing.
Yes.
I think he's got some of the best hands in the draft, honestly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, is there maybe even like another position that might maybe possibly you could go at that draft pick?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another, like Williams will be, Williams from Alabama will probably be there. We mentioned Chad Penning already. If you want to go O-line. I think also they like Jahan Dotson quite a bit. He would be there at 16. Again, that would allow you to trade back maybe one more time if you need to, because he'll be the bottom of the 1st round. So I just think this is exactly what this team needed to do, and I think this is great draft management by this team and by Ron Rivera.
All right, back to y'all in Vegas.
Thank you so much, guys. Yes, Washington giving themselves more options in this year's draft by moving back again. They will be selecting at 16 overall in the 3rd round at number 98 and in the 4th round at 120, getting more picks than what they did when they entered the night. Now, we will be coming back when we are back on the clock at 16 overall, so make sure you come right back here. We are at Caesars Forum coming to you live with all the draft coverage. And then again, we will be back at the end of the draft wrapping up how Washington did in the 1st round. As you can see, a lot of moves already being made. We will see you when we are on the clock again at 16.